Hey y'all, welcome to Kamira's Kitchen. Today I'm showing you how to make some gumbo collard greens, scalloped potatoes, another Jiffy Cornbread recipe, and some corn pudding. These are some great soul food side dishes, but really there's enough meat in the collard greens where that could be a main dish. Don't forget to check out my ebook in the description box, and we're first going to get started with making a dry roux for the gumbo collard greens. I'm going to be adding 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Now this is way more flour than you need for this recipe, but if you are going to be going ahead and baking a roux, you may as well have extra, okay? If you're going to put it to work, you may as well have some left. Now my oven is preheated to 400 degrees. Every 15 minutes, I am going to go in and I'm going to thoroughly stir this dry roux. After 15 minutes, this is how it looks. You will have some clumps, but that does not matter. You just keep whisking it around. You're going to see it progressively get darker. Now, it took in total about an hour and 45 minutes for my roux to come to the color that I wanted it to be. However, if you do this on a baking sheet lined with foil where the flour is laid flat, then this is going to happen quicker. Actually, it could even happen within 1 hour. You could get the color that you want. But the point is that you must constantly go in and stir this, because if you do not, it will burn. And when you burn this, you're going to have to throw everything away. Okay? I am trying to get the color that is somewhat similar to cinnamon. Now, I think I got relatively close, but then I got a little scared, okay, because I was like, I ain't trying to burn this. Now, if you from New Orleans, let me know. Should I have pressed my flour on a little bit further and cooked it a little bit more? I'm just going to sift out all of the lumps, and I'm going to store the extra in a Ziploc bag. We are going to get started on these gumbo collard greens. Now, as I said, I'm going to be using some organic butter, and I'll also be using some organic fat back. This is way less oil than you would typically put in gumbo. Most gumbos have a half of a cup to even 1 full cup of oil, and we are drastically reducing that today. If you don't do pork, just do extra butter. I have some chicken andouille sausage, and I'm going to just toast them in this oil until they get a nice brown color. Then I will remove the sausage. I have already rough chopped, that holy trinity. Okay, I got that celery, I got that onion, I got that bell pepper, and I chopped it big because this is going to go in the pressure cooker. So ain't no need to make it all little tiny and cute. Okay, it's going to break down. Okay, I'm going to put in this Tony's spices and herbs, and y'all, this is so good. It's almost better than the regular Tony's. Try it if you ain't tried it. Okay, and I'm going to just saute this for about 3 to 4 minutes until it's got a nice color on it. I'm going in with 5 cloves of rough chopped garlic. Again, it's going to get pressure cooked. I ain't trying to do no small mince. And I'm going to toast this for about 1 minute until the smell is just all up in my kitchen, baby. Half of a teaspoon of salt-free Cajun seasoning is going to add some smokiness. It's going to add that pepper, that garlic, all that good stuff. Of course, I got my smoked turkey. Going to throw that in my pressure cooker with all of my meats and my fat back and just 2 cups of water. If you want this to be more brothy, I'd go in with 4 cups. 2 teaspoons of low sodium, better than bouillon chicken. And I am going to pressure cook this for about 35 minutes. I'm going to give it a jump start before I put in the collard greens because I really want this turkey to fall off of the bone. And so if I just do it 35 minutes only, I feel like it's not going to be enough. So I'm going to pressure cook it once, and then I'm going to go in with all the vegetables. To give it a little bit more of a classic gumbo taste, I am going to be using 2 tablespoons of my dry roux. The rest of that dry roux, you just store and save for another gumbo recipe or when you want to make this again. Now, you could add up to 1 cup of the dry roux, but we're trying to minimize flour here, okay? So just 2 tablespoons, I think is plenty. I'm adding all my vegetables in plus a cup of okra. Even if you do not like okra, you will like this because the okra basically is just going to break down and add a little bit of thickening. You will not taste it at all. Now this is 2 pounds of washed collard greens because baby, I won't try to wash and cut nothing. Okay, I let the stove do it for me. Then I'm going to put back on my lid and I'm going to pressure cook this for about 32 minutes. You are going to see these greens break down. The turkey, which is going to add so much protein, is going to fall off the bone. Okay, this is delicious. Now to balance out the flavors, I went in with 2 teaspoons of sugar. That is not a lot. okay? Just to give it a little sweetness to complement the smokiness from the turkey and the salt-free Cajun seasoning. To me, this is perfect. Now, if you want yours to be looser and have a lot more gravy, add a little bit more broth. But I am going to put in about a teaspoon of gumbo filet just to give it that classic gumbo taste. And this is some good greens, okay? I'm going to tell y'all right now, people will fight for these greens, okay? Bring this to your Soul Food Sunday table. All right, people ain't even gonna realize how healthy it is. I'm also gonna go in with some scallions and toss this up. Let me know in the comments if you're going to try this. I think this is a really fun version, a little change up from your classic Southern collard greens. And next up, we're going to be doing some cornbread. Now, you know, some cornbread got to go with the collard greens. You know, these go hand in hand. So I'm going to show you another version of one of my favorite Jiffy recipes. So I have here Sister Mabel Lee. Y'all done seen her many times. And I got my Crisco buttered flavor shortening. Now, I'm going to put this in the oven to heat up at 350 while I prepare the cornbread. Now, something you got to make a note of is that you should not use real butter to do this. Now, one thing I don't like about Jiffy is that you know, the mixture be kind of lumpy, okay? That stuff be lumpier than a sister with cellulite, okay? You hear me? Now, one of the reasons for that is because they have special factory processes that they use to bind that lard that they put in this to the actual mixture. So I like to go in there with a whisk and break it up. Now, first I'm going to add my brown sugar, and I just have like 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt here just to bring out the flavor a bit. This is going to help it not be so lumpy when we mix. One thing I like to do with a lot of my baked goods is I like to make a little well in the dry ingredients, and then I like to put everything into that little well in the bowl. I think it makes it a little bit easier to mix. But hey, you do you. You just want to throw it in. It's just cornbread, okay? It's not deep. Don't think too hard about it, all right? So I'm going to go in with my milk, my Greek yogurt. You could also use sour cream if you don't have Greek yogurt, my butter, and also my 2 eggs. I wait to add the honey near the end because I feel like it mixes in better. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who say, I don't like sweet cornbread, Kamira. Okay, I don't like it. And that's okay, baby. You don't have to use the sugar or the honey. Just leave it out. But I like me some sweet cornbread. And yes, I am from the South. And I do it how I do it, okay? And I make it how I like it. You make it how you like it, baby, okay? Now, if you've been enjoying this video so far, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up and let me know if you try this recipe down in the comments. I'm going to go in now with my teaspoon of honey. Now, if you do like honey in your cornbread, something about honey is that it's a humectant, which means it draws in moisture from the air. It will actually make your baked goods like your cornbread more moist because it can draw in water into the actual finished product, making it super moist. Now, Mabel Lee is out the oven. She piping hot, okay? And I'm going to go in and pour in my cornbread mixture. Now, if your batter ain't sizzling and puffing up on the sides, when you put it in, your cast iron skillet ain't hot enough. All right, I'm just telling you right now, you ain't gonna get the crust that you need on that cornbread that everyone came to get. All right, so make sure your cast iron skillet is hot, honey. I done put her in a 350-degree oven for about 25 minutes. That is when mine was nice and golden brown at the top because I don't want my cornbread light skin, okay? And I just went in with a toothpick just to make sure that it was done and ready and it was good to go. But I check on it at about 20 minutes. Y'all, today I was too lazy to melt some butter. I just wasn't trying to do that. So I took me a little bit of butter from my fridge and I just put it on top and I let the heat do the work. Okay, so I just melted it that way. I got to show y'all how this looks. This is so good. I'm going to tell you right now, you ain't going to be able to stop eating it. Okay, so if you want a diet, don't come for it. All right, don't even look at it. All right, or you going to have to make it and just get it out your house. All right. Next up is some delicious and cheesy scalloped potatoes. Here I have 4 medium-sized rustic potatoes. I have given them a very good wash because y'all know potatoes be dirty now. And I'm going to go in with my little peeler and I'm going to peel off the skin. Then I am going to chop them into some relatively thin slices. You don't want them too thin because if you make them too thin, when you parboil them, they're just going to start to disintegrate. But these are maybe about 1/4 of an inch thickness, and I'm going to chop all the way down. Once I'm done chopping, I'm going to place them in some water. This is not only going to get off the excess starch, but it's going to help prevent them from turning brown. Growing up, scalloped potatoes was really a side dish I would only get as a part of like a Sunday dinner or a soul food meal. You know, that after church food, you know what I'm saying? Let me know in the comments, what was your favorite side dish growing up after church or during a soul food meal? What was it? Now, I am going to really season this water that I'm going to parboil the potatoes in. So I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of vegetable base and a generous amount of salt, maybe about 1/2 tablespoon. And I'm going to parboil these potatoes for about 3 to 5 minutes. You just have to watch them. It is important that you heavily season the water because this is one of your few opportunities to get some seasoning into the potatoes, and the potatoes are bland. Now, you will know your potatoes are about ready when you see that they are cooked a little on the rim, but they are still a little bit raw in the middle. This is exactly where you want them. Now, at this stage, you're going to drain them. They are hot and they need to be cooled down immediately so that they do not continue to cook. So you need to go ahead and put cold water on them immediately. Okay, I'm going to rinse them very well. Now, if you see that some of them start to come apart or they're a little bit extra soft, that is of no concern at all. That's normal. Okay, they're a little bit fragile at this stage, and honestly, you would even know the difference when you put them in your casserole dish. Now, I have a small 8x8 casserole dish. I'm going to put all my potatoes. Some of them just turned a little brown from being exposed to the air because it just took me a little while before I started baking them, but that's no problem. After I put them in my dish, I'm going to start on this sauce. I am adding 2 tablespoons of salted butter to my pot, as well as a tablespoon of flour, and I'm going to lightly toast this for about 30 seconds until it's, you know, it's light skin. We're looking for a light skin roux. Okay, and then I'm going to put in a whole can of evaporated milk. This is essentially concentrated milk that is meant for cooking, but you are more than welcome to just use whole milk. That would be great. I would not use like 1% milk or something of that nature because the fat content won't be enough to go into this dish well and make it that thick, creamy sauce that you're going to be looking for. Once I have mixed this in, I'm then going to add some cheese. You can use any cheese of your choice. Here I have some Gouda cheese, Munster cheese, Parmesan, and Colby Jack. In total, I have about 6 ounces of cheese. I just chose this because I had this in my fridge. But my favorite cheese to use in this is actually a combination of Swiss cheese and Parmesan cheese. But I didn't have that today. Okay, but that would be absolutely delicious. I'm going to add my cheeses and I'm going to allow them to melt. You're going to notice this is going to look very similar to the way you make a macaroni and cheese. I'm then going in with about a teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper powder, and about 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. At the end of the day, you can just season to your taste and do whatever you like. Once I mix this in, I'm also going to be adding some Vegeta. Y'all have seen me use this as a vegetable bouillon. This is going to take the place of salt as well as chicken bouillon. If you don't have this, then add in about a teaspoon of chicken bouillon. I'm going to use about a cup of heavy cream in total. Now, I didn't put a cup in at this very moment, but you will see later that I end up adding some more. I put in about 1/4 of a cup of water, and then I'm going to taste this. Now, the amount of salt you add to this sauce depends on how salty your potatoes taste. So taste your cooked potatoes and taste this, and that will help you determine how much salt you need to add to your dish because potatoes need a lot of seasoning. I'm then going to pour over all my sauce, but after I did this, you will see that I decided that I wanted a little bit more sauce. And you guys know we just home cooks up in the kitchen. So look, we just gonna improvise. Y'all know how home cooks do, okay? So I'm gonna go in with about a fourth a cup of more heavy cream. So that's why I said in total I used about 1 cup, and I'm just going to mix it in and then add a little bit more pepper to this, and you couldn't even tell the difference. Okay, then I'm going to put on just enough cheese to coat the topping so that it'll become nice and golden brown. This whole time I've had my oven preheating to 350 degrees. I am going to bake this for about 30 to 35 minutes until the top is nice and golden brown. I'm going to add a little paprika to give it that beautiful color, and then I'm going to pop this straight into the oven. Now this is what I got after about 35 minutes. It was beautiful, golden and bubbly. My potatoes had finished cooking and this was just magnificent. I allowed this to sit for about 7 minutes before I cut into this. And guys, this was some of the creamiest, most delicious scalloped potatoes. So I have here some nutmeg. I'm going to grate it fresh. I have some evaporated milk. Of course, we have to use corn. So I have a can of drained whole kernel corn, 2 cans of cream corn, and I do have one 12-ounce bag of frozen corn. But you don't have to have this. You really could just use 2 cans of whole corn. But you know, I use what I got, okay? Then I have 5 eggs and I have 4 tablespoons of cornstarch to thicken everything up, a half of a cup of sugar, a stick of butter, and I also have some vanilla extract, okay? To get everything started, we're going to start off by cracking all of our eggs into our bowl. Of course, you know what? Make sure you ain't got no shell up in there. Okay, then you ain't never going to live that down if they get something crunchy up in, you know, the corn pudding. And I'm going to first start by whisking together all the eggs to beat them. And then I'm going to put in my evaporated milk. Please let me know in the comments what other recipes you all want to see. I try to get to them. I do get a ton of requests, but you guys leaving me feedback really does help me plan these videos. So please let me know. I'm going to also put in a teaspoon of this vanilla extract, and I'm going to whisk that together with my sugar. Now, I only like to use half of a cup of sugar. I know some people like their corn pudding super sweet, and this is not, though this is sweet, it's not dessert sweet in my opinion. I don't think it's like sickeningly sweet, okay? You could even use a fourth of a cup of sugar, but to me, half a cup is perfection. Now, as you see, I've grated in my nutmeg, I've put in my butter, all my cornstarch, and it's okay if the cornstarch has some of the lumps. Not a big deal. It's going to work itself out in the corn pudding. I'm then going to go in with both cans of my cream corn and also my drained whole corn. Now, my frozen corn actually still got a little ice on it, all right? It actually doesn't have to be totally defrosted. Doesn't really matter. And of course, like I said, you can just use 2 cans of corn. But I had this and I was going to use it. I ain't going to waste no food up in here. Okay? And then I'm going to mix everything together. And that's how easy it is to put together a easy corn pudding. Now, I almost forgot. Okay, I almost forgot to put in a ½ teaspoon of salt. Can't have the sugar without the salt. Okay, so go and throw that up in there. But if you use salted butter, you don't need to do this. Okay? Essential for a corn pudding is to use a big casserole dish. You need it. Corn pudding is a flat casserole. So this is a 9 by 13. That's the appropriate size for this amount. But don't worry, because most likely you're not even going to have to double this because this makes such a large serving. I'm then going to put this in the oven at 400 degrees for somewhere between 40 to 45 minutes. You're going to see that it's going to be golden on top. It may even take an hour if you have a low heating oven, but for me, 40 to 45 minutes was perfection, okay? Now, some people like to eat their corn pudding cold, other people's hot or room temperature. Let me know what temperature you like to eat yours. I tend to prefer mine a little on the warm side, but since this can be eaten cold, I think this is actually a really good dish to make the day before because it's really easy to heat up again. When you're making these big soul food Sunday meals, I feel like it's always nice to have a side dish you can make early. So I think corn pudding is really one of those good things. And let me know if you've tried corn pudding before. I've heard a lot of people have never had Southern style corn pudding. So this is a really delicious dish. I hope you guys have enjoyed all of the side dishes that I have shown you today. Let me know what your favorite was and which one you guys are going to make. Don't forget that I love you and Jesus loves you. God bless everyone who listens to my channel. I appreciate you guys so very much. Goodbye and God bless.